Hello, my friends. Today is November the 16th, and this is a reading for you if this is your birth date, or if this is an anniversary or some other special significant date, but primarily a birthday reading for the year to follow. A four-card pull, a general energy card for the year, a challenge you might face this year, an action you can take to stay in balance, and an outcome or synopsis card. So, what is the general energy card of the year? Is the nectar. And what is the nectar except recognizing, boy, the many different sweetnesses of life, the taste of childhood, the sense of the innocence of childhood, the sweetness of exploration, the touch of a pet animal, the love of a motherly instinct, the the blossoming of music in one's soul, the touching through the looking at beauty and art, the movement through the sense of connection to others, through love, through compassion, through joy, through sharing. There are a great many ways to touch the nectar of one's being. And often, what we have to do is we have to take even the poisons that we have, that we feel are our poisons, that we feel are our victimizations, that we feel are our challenges, that we feel are the things that we don't like about ourselves, and we have to hold them in our mouths, and we have to let them soften and let the juices move them and let our understandings be taken from them and let their words that they have to share talk to us and teach us so that we can change those poisons into things that have value and beauty to us. And it might be a long way to go to change something that is painful into something that has a sweetness to it, that has taught a lesson, that has reminded us of sacred things, that has brought us back to our sacred nature. But that's really what the nectar is all about. It's about returning us to the sweetness of our own souls, remembering that we are divine beings, remembering that we have the touch of sacred honey, of sacred milk and honey of our beingness inside of us, and that we don't need to look for it outside. It is inside of us, and then we can, and that when we can taste these things and remember these things and do these things and share these things that have the sacred joy of connection, sacred joy of forgiveness, sacred joy of inspiration, sacred joy of union with the self, with the divine, then do we experience the sweetness of life. And does life have a better balance for us? And we're about finding balance. We're not going to, open everything up and be amazingly, enlightened in any given moment. Most of us, maybe some of us are, but most of us aren't. We have to go up and down. We have to go, look at our stuff and then go down into our pain, and then look at our stuff and go down into our pain. Ride the highs, ride the lows, ride the highs, ride the lows. Find a place in the middle that we can watch them and not be stuck in either duplicating the highs so hard that we get, obsessed and crazy, or getting so far away from the lows that we never heal what has been our pain and our problem. So the nectar is all about finding that sweet spot in the middle. I think that bliss spot that says, life in this very moment is precious and good and sweet, and I can taste it and I can see it and I can feel it by the interactions I have with family, with friends, with community, with pets, with self, with nature, with beingness that is heart empowering. So, what is your particular challenge? November the 16th, folks. Well, it is the Eight of Wands. Um, Generally, this is saying you've created something very sweet, very foundational, something very inspirational. Lots of people and beings are fed by what you have to share in the way of sugar, in the way of teachings, in the way of love, in the way of healing, in the way of giving and inspiring others, and that you also are inspired by others in the same dynamic, in the same framework, in the same foundation. So, what is your challenge? Well, I think your challenge is to believe that it won't be taken away from you for some reason. That there is, there's some part of you that thinks that this nectar of sweetness that you have is going to be short lived, that this nectar of touch is going to be broken apart, this nectar of foundation is going to be torn asunder and not going to be able to keep itself square and focused and participated in, and that it might lose its power of punch. So the action that you have to take is the rabbit, and the rabbit to me is about gentleness. It's about recognizing that so much of what we create in our worlds are our words, and our fears that are underneath us create our words, and they put out the spells that say, oh, that's going to be horrible, oh, that's going to mean trouble, oh, that's going to be bad, oh, I'm a bad person, oh, I've done something wrong, oh, I don't like this thing about myself. I don't like this thing about the outside world. Please, a rabbit is known for sitting in the field and just standing there. But in essence, it's the thought of, oh, please don't eat me, Mister Eagle. Oh, please don't eat me, Mister Hawk. Oh, please don't eat me, Mister Coyote. And standing there, but putting out these thoughts of, oh, please don't eat me. Please don't eat me. Please don't eat me. So we become the victims from our own thoughts and our own prejudices and our own fears that we impanel and empower and call forward to be the things that guide us, when in essence we also have to learn how to be soft and trusting and vulnerable. And that's what the rabbit teaches us. We have to be gentle with ourselves. We have to be loving with ourselves. We have to recognize that there's a sweetness. Rabbits are fertility. Rabbits are family. Rabbits are creating great play and joy and vulnerability with great huge families, and safe in their holes, and so there's a great sense of beauty and warmth and loveliness and touch that's joyful and soft and pleasurable. And that's what is the nectar of life except those kind of things. So the rabbit says, sure, you might go out and call these pains to you to look at and experience, but you also have to remember that there is sweetness in your rabbit hole. There's sweetness in your den. There's sweetness in your being. There's sweetness in your touch. There's sweetness in your family, whatever that family looks like or means to you. There's sweetness there. There's vulnerability there. There's love. There's support there. There's kindness. There's gentleness. There's thriving. There's growth. There's fertility. All of those things that are the nectar of life. And this is a year to be able to touch those. You have to remember them. You have to touch them. You have to really feel into them and not give over to your fear that everything's going to collapse and nothing's going to remain and it's not going to be able to be held, because the nectar will always be there. The sweetness will always be there. It might have to shapeshift, and it might have to reform, and it might have to break down and coalesce, but the nectar is always there. The sweetness is always there if you allow it to be seen, if you allow it to be felt, if you allow it to be shouted. And maybe this is a time that says you need to shout about the sweetness of life. You need to shout out loud about your gratitude. You need to shout out loud about your praise. You need to shout out loud about your celebration of being. And in that shouting out loud, do you give rise to other people to join you, to find the same senses of joy and satisfaction and touches of nectar that inspire and propel and allow one to thrive in one's barren barren networks, barren terrains that they might be feeling, but look at the sense of spark that is inside of us, the sense of spark that is in our voice, the sense of light that is in our truth, the sense of joy that is in our praise and in our song and in our glory. So this is a time of allowing the nectar that's in your heart and in your being and in your voice to come out in some inspiring way that lifts others up, that lifts you up, that carries you forward, that diminishes your fear. And even if you do have fear, you're going to power through it. You're going to stand up in front of who you need to stand up in front of, and you're going to say what you need to say, and you're going to hold your power, and you're going to share the divine light of consciousness of who you are, and the divine light of truth, and the divine light of love that connects you in beauty, in soul, in dance, in creativity, in love, in compassion. Ahom Mitakuye Oyasin, blessed be.